Hello, and welcome to week 4. This is Paul Scott, and we are going to be talking about staging today. The most interesting thing about staging that I found in the reading that we did this week is this concept of presentational versus representational staging. I've been acting at the local community college here for the last 12 or 13 years and been involved in several productions, and I've experienced a mix of both. And through the reading, I have come to understand why some productions benefit from presentational while others benefit from representational. So, just to give you an example, I was in a production of Macbeth, and the author, Caton, notes that Shakespeare is a pretty common author where directors use the representational style of staging a play. And in our case, that was correct. We had a stage that was multiple platforms, just a few inches higher from the next, with a pool of blood in the middle, with a sliding metal cage over the top of it that could open and close depending on whether the scene required it. And one of the things I liked about the set was the backdrop was a series of two-way mirrors. So when you lit the set from the front, they just appeared to be regular mirrors. But when you lit the set from the rear, you could see what was going on behind those mirrors. And so we used that to show the ghost of Banquo and the former kings of England who were haunting Macbeth. And it was a great staging device that I thought was very creative, that of course doesn't exist in the real world. We were not in a castle. There was nothing Scottish about what the set revealed, but it set the mood for the tone of the show, and the coldness of Macbeth, and especially Lady Macbeth's decision making. There was no softness on the set at all. It was all cage and metal and wire and mirror to reflect the tone of the play. So that was a fascinating use of representational staging, I thought. Another one that I wasn't in but was produced by the same theater company was Marat Sade, where they took a 150 seat black box theater and built a set wherein the audience members were ushered into the actual stage floor, not in the seats of the audience, that was constructed to appear to be a waiting room in a mental hospital. And so the first act took place where we're sitting in chairs in a waiting room observing the mental patients and hospital staff on the other side of plexiglass walls. And then for the second act, we were actually ushered into the asylum itself. And so it was basically a thrust kind of stage, and we surrounded the action from that point on. So it was almost a combination of the two. It was presentational in that it was made to look like we were in an insane asylum, but it was representational in that in Act Two, you would never, as a civilian or bystander, be in that environment with the actors, with the residents of the asylum while they carried out the acts that they did in Act Two. In terms of presentational shows, You Can't Take It With You, obviously, is a classic. I was in that. And our very talented set designers and carpenters and everyone who worked on the show recreated a 1930s well-to-do Manhattan apartment down to the finest detail. the telephone, the woodwork, the wainscoting. It was the furniture. It was as though you were transported back in time, which I think represents the presentational style. Another show that I did in a different community college nearby was Three Sisters, and again, you're invited into the Provorov living room. So we staged it as though the audience was sitting outside and looking into their home. So there were very few sort of symbolic elements, and it was all very realistic. Finally, I'll say the production I'm working on now, which is my first as a director, I'm an assistant director, is A Flea in Her Ear, which of course is a farce by George Feydeau. And it's a very different style of staging, right? So we have endless entrances and exits. And so our goal in the floor plan and designing the set was how many doors can we fit onto a limited size of stage, and how can we get as many people in and out of those doors as quickly as possible. So our stage has 2 levels. We have 2 doors on the upstairs level and another 5 on the downstairs level, and we add a 6th for the middle act. So it's a very different kind of challenge when you're doing a farce as opposed to something like Three Sisters. So the reading this week really made me think about the choices that the directors I have worked with have made, and has informed me about choices that I hope to make as a director in the future. All right. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next week.